Hey the YouTube, is your boy Lipid out here with another reaction video. Today we got the Pokemon that personified death by BlueBoyPhin. Let's get right into the video, shall we? Hit it.
Everyone knows Pokemon has always been inspired by real places. Unova is New York, Alola is Hawaii.
Right.
But before Pokemon was a franchise to tour around the world, it was all about to end with a final region. In 1998, Gold and Silver brought to life the heart of Japan. But unlike other games, this region was an exact replica. Osaka is Goldenrod, Kyoto is Ecruteak, Olivine City is Kobe, Violet City is Nara, all lining up geologically perfect. And I think most people know this. But over a year ago, I started to research.
I don't want to preface this. I've not played the Heart Gold and Soul Silver versions of Pokemon. I think my first generation of Pokemon was Pokemon Emerald. I still have my copy and the Game Boy Advance, but I am interested because it has anything to do with Pokemon, and if it has something like, real life tangled with it, I'm interested.
Every town, route, and city, and each connecting piece, and the entire region began to unravel into a web of obscure truths that had been buried in these games 20 years ago. And my view of what these games were really about began to shift. The NPCs in Goldenrod speak in the Osaka dialect of Japanese. There are real whirlpools exactly where they're placed in the game. Every notable...
Did you just say there are real whirlpools where there are actual whirlpools in the game, like in real life?
There are real whirlpools exactly where they're placed in the game. Every notable location in Johto is a notable monument that exists in real life.
Okay.
The radio tower in Goldenrod is the Sutenkaku. The Bellsprout Tower is an allegory for the oldest standing wooden temple in the world, the Todaiji. It makes sense now why you can hear wood creaking in the tower.
Makes sense.
They even got these things.
Oh yeah, the wave
Nara
arresters.
and Kyoto have a law where stores can't use bright colors to maintain the beauty of old-style buildings, which is why both Violet City and Ecruteak are the only ones to have muted red Pokemon Center.
Oh, I've never played the game, but that is so cool to know. Like in real life, that just to prevent to protect the old heritage, you don't want bright colors in those regions, and it reflects in the game. That is cool.
Which is why both Violet City and Ecruteak are the only ones to have muted red Pokemon centers.
Cool.
But how deep did this really go? Sure, it's a shot-for-shot perfect copy of this real region in Japan, but even the Pokemon themselves relate to real animals that live in these areas. And the places those Pokemon appear on the map line up perfectly with real life. Nara and Kyoto have thousands of free-roaming deer.
Right.
Stantler only spawns on Route 36 and 37, the one chunk of grass that lies between them. It's the only Pokemon that spawns here at all times of the day at a fixed 30%. The Pokemon themselves are far less fantastical than any other region in the history of the franchise. Heracross is the Japanese rhinoceros beetle. Spinarak is the Japanese Joro spider. They all fit into life the way they do in the games. But slowly, I started to realize that there was a much deeper layer here. A narrative that I was starting to uncover. A message that was trying to be told, shrouded by fantasy. Johto is one of the last games to still have unsolved questions. People have always been asking for more. But what I found is that the missing pieces actually lie in reality. And the only way to find these answers was to go where it all began and solve it myself. Because if everything is practically real, then what the hell is unknown?
Well, I mean, first of all, I already know I'm going to enjoy this video, but Unown has always been kind of like a throwaway Pokemon. You don't really take it seriously because its moveset is weird, and there was no reason to capture it. It was just kind of like you keep it to the side, you capture real Pokemon. You never really treated Unown as a natural Pokemon. So, yeah.
I've been playing Pokemon since I was a little kid. I've walked the ruins of Alph over and over, slid old stone puzzles together, caught Unown, and that's about it. It's easy for this place to seem like nothing but a dead end. just an endless mystery. Nothing but old cryptic writings that give more questions than answers. Ruins of the past. Puzzles, secret rooms, and strange Pokemon. It almost doesn't make sense. What if this place was real? What if there really were more questions than answers? What if the puzzle pieces aren't all put together? What if it really was unknown? The place we know as the Ruins of Alph was inspired by Asuka, a tiny village 40 minutes south of Nara, or Violet City. It's a place where the mystery of the past is living in tandem with the present.
Like
Throughout
literally?
Asuka, hundreds of ancient tombs are hidden underground. In between gardens and houses lie stone structures that look identical to the ones in the Ruins of Alph, that are to this day not understood.
Oh, that is such a cool concept that in the game, if the games are actually based off of real life places, and then knowing that those real life places exist, and you know that Pokemon that can be captured in these regions match the Pokemon that should exist in those regions, then the next logical question is, well, if there's unknown here, then what is it trying to represent? Huh.
The tombs are over 1,500 years old,
That is an interesting premise.
yet still standing. And no one on Earth knows anything. Who is buried here, or why? Their very existence is truly unknown. Throughout Asuka, there are stone monoliths that have been standing still for so long. No one knows what they were ever for. All they know is that some of them fit together, like a puzzle. Though they will likely never move again, moss grows over, and kids climb on top. And the only way for these ancient puzzle pieces to come together is through story and imagination. These pieces are stuck in time, built before Japan's own known history, more than 1,500 years ago. They've been forgotten many times over, stuck still for so long that legends came of them and left. They remind me of...
Could you imagine how long you have to be just to have a legend written about you, and then you live so long after that the people who originally wrote those legends became legendary themselves, and the legend of you was forgotten. Like, damn, that is old.
sliding the stone puzzle squares into place, unlocking some secret fantasy stone chamber where you fall into a hole in a mysterious room. Pokemon is just another iteration of these legends, a story built from something mysterious that will never be answered otherwise. Most of the tombs, like the game, are empty now, but there have been discoveries here that have influenced these games in far more ways than you might think. There are two that are regarded as national treasures by Japan. This is the Takamasuzaka. This tomb was first discovered in 1972, and it was the first tomb with vividly colored paintings to ever be discovered in the history of Japan. When it was found, it was all over the news as the people of Asuka gathered around and climbed in to see origins of the past. On the walls were paintings of multiple figures, Genbu, the black tortoise, and 3 other animals that were shrouded due to its age: a tiger, a dragon, and the resemblance of a bird. Shortly after it was laid eyes on, it was sealed off to the public. These are what inspired the paintings and the puzzles in the Ruins of Alph.
Oh.
In 2005, they found the paintings had molded over and started to deteriorate since its discovery.
Because
A difficult decision was made
I
by Japan.
imagine because it's sealed off for thousands of years, that when it actually is exposed to humidity or like actual new air, it does begin to deteriorate, right? So I think they're going to personify it, right? Like
Japan to completely
preserve it, right?
remove the giant stone panels and bring them to a research center for them to painfully reconstruct into their original state. In tandem with this, new dialogue was added in the remakes of Gold and Silver to an NPC in the Ruins of Alph, who says we are reconstructing ancient stone panels, and we think we can put them back together to how they were. The Takamasuzaka was immediately a staple in Japan historic discoveries. However, it was only 10 years later that another discovery like it would be found. The most notorious tomb in all of Asuka, and possibly Japan, the Kitora Tumulus. First discovered in 1950 by a local resident who stumbled upon it during road construction and spread word about its existence. Immediately after, it was declared a national treasure by Japan. But due to the technological restraints at the time, the tomb was left untouched for 30 years, until 1983, when enough advancements in cameras had been made that it was possible to see inside.
I have to pause it here because that is so cool. That, like, imagine they discovered a tomb in the 1980s and then just basically said, you know what? It's well before its time. We're not yet advanced. And it's like that Iron Man movie scene where it's like you're too advanced for your time, or you just have to wait until technology catches up so that you can still preserve what's inside while still taking a look. Because I'm guessing that's like a what do you call it? Like that endoscope camera, like the thing that just wiggles its way into small holes.
A group of researchers used an oddly thin, long camera called a fiberscope to learn about the contents that had laid underground for over 1,500 years. Once inside, they found paintings on the walls. The second discovery in the history of Japan to recognize a vividly painted mural. Although similar to the Takamasuzaka, this one was far more special because it was in nearly perfect condition. Inside laid 4 mythical creatures, and the oldest precisely drawn constellation map to ever be discovered in Japan. These 4 creatures are known as the 4 symbols of Chinese astrology, and among them lied the last one that was missing from the Takamasuzaka, the vermilion bird, Suzaku. Ho-Oh, the mystical firebird, said to be the ruler of the legendaries, and to promise eternal happiness to whoever laid eyes on it. Only referred to as legend in Gold and Silver, until you encounter it. He was originally intended to be the only mascot of Pokemon Gold and Silver. Many people know about Ho-Oh's connection to the ancient Chinese mythological bird Fenhong, as it literally translates in Japanese as Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh adorns the top of temples in Kyoto in golden form, clearly inspiring the Pokemon and its shiny form. But it also has a strong connection to the vermilion firebird Suzaku, portrayed on the walls in the ancient tombs of Asuka. Not only is Ho-Oh painted on the stone in the Ruins of Alph, but Ho-Oh is required to be brought here to enter into certain chambers. The mysterious transmission, the only Pokegear channel that plays in the Ruins of Alph, was created by using portions of Ho-Oh's cry. Ho-Oh specifically is connected deeply to this place, and Suzaku is a symbol of Asuka, and has more ties with Ho-Oh the Pokemon than we thought. Like Ho-Oh, Suzaku is often a symbol of rebirth and regeneration, but Suzaku is also associated closely with the sun and possesses the ability to control fire. And Suzaku, like Fenhong, is said to have wings that resemble the rainbow. Never before had Japan discovered an ancient painting of Suzaku like this. The importance of Suzaku to Japan as a whole is key to understanding Ho-Oh's connection to the Ruins of Alph. Inside of the Kitora tomb, waiting with Suzaku and the divine beasts, lied a constellation on the ceiling, the oldest scientific star map to ever be discovered. Knowing that Ho-Oh has ties to this depiction of the constellations started to reveal much more about these games than we had ever thought. But it all became clear to us when we entered into a replica of the Kitora tomb.
Yeah, because so far it is an incredible historic documentary. I've got no issues with this. This is incredibly interesting. But what does it have to do with the game?
And heard the words of someone who knew a lot more about this than we ever could.
The sun. 西に銀箔でもうゴールドとシルバー
Gold and silver?
ゴールドで山を描いて、でシルバーで銀を描いて
No way! Wow!
What?
That's so cool! Dude.
And that's the name of the game. Heart Gold and Soul Silver. With gold literally meaning the sun and silver meaning the moon. Which means if you take Suzaku Ho-Oh as the sun, Lugia would be the moon. Would it not?
Gold and silver.
Right. Oh, okay.
Above and below.
I did not see how this connection could ever come from them, but the fact that they went to the actual replica of the temple, of the tomb itself, and the guide there was basically like, well, yeah, that's heart gold and soul silver. That's the sun, that's the moon. I'm like, bro, that is, first of all, dedication. Second of all, damn, that's cool. Like, could you imagine the feeling you get if you're there and that's how they explain it to you? You're like, oh my god, that makes sense.
The sky and the sea.
Right.
The sun
And the moon.
and the moon. Ho-Oh is the golden sun, and Lugia is the silver moon. Inspired directly from the ancient constellation that originally pictured them together 1,500 years ago. The oldest and most culturally important of its kind. This is why the games are called Gold and Silver. This connection is why Ho-Oh and Lugia both carry the flying type and are always pictured mirroring each other in all of their art, even in some of their moves. And Generation 2 were the very first games to introduce day and night. But if you've played these games, then you're probably aware that we're missing a piece here. The Kimono girls played a vital part in the story of Johto, and they also reside in the tombs of Asuka. When the first tomb with murals was discovered, the Takamasuzaka, the painting that drew the most attention was the depiction of empresses in ancient Japan, known as the Ladies of Asuka. The Ladies of Asuka were 5 people who played critical roles in this time period of Japan's history and the spread of Buddhism, and they were portrayed in gold and silver through the Kimono girls. The depictions of the Ladies of Asuka in the past and now all show them representing a different color, which is why each Kimono girl carries an evolution and are always portrayed wearing distinct different colors.
Oh, that is cool.
There are 5 Kimono girls and 5 Ladies of Asuka.
That is cool. Oh yeah, that I have to admit. Like the fact that they went as far as to say, oh, you got the evolutions for each and every single type for them, for different colors. Like that is commitment to the cultural representation of it. That is respect.
There are 5 Kimono girls and 5 Ladies of Asuka. Throughout the games of Gold and Silver, there is a theme in the story and a general feeling of playing this game like the past and present are existing together. That things of old and new are happening around you at the same time. It says in the Japanese Pokemon Wiki that the Kimono girls are descendants of an ancient clan that worshipped Ho-Oh and Lugia. This use of the word clan seems strange, but it's actually very intentional. There is one other time a clan is mentioned throughout the games of Gold and Silver, in the secret rooms of the Ruins of Alph. There are words written in Unown on the floor that mention that they are the clan that erected Pokemon statues outside. 1,500 years ago, in Asuka, there were 2 real clans in an intense conflict with each other. The Soga clan, pushing for Buddhism, eventually won. During this time period, the Ladies of Asuka had a vital impact on the creation of Japan as a nation The clans referred to on the Ruins of Alph lore and the clan that the Kimono girls descended from are the same. If this is true, the time periods would line up perfect with real life. The 5 Kimono girls are the descendants of the 5 ladies of Asuka.
I do have to mention the amount of effort. Like, you already know the Pokemon games, they put in a lot of effort, but I feel like with Heart Gold and Soul Silver, they outdid themselves. I've never played the games. I have the games on the consoles. I need to get back to them. But the fact that they push this hard to get it as accurate as possible is respectable, bro. That is dedication to the art form.
The ruins of Alph are full of stone chambers, ancient ruins of a past civilization, where all that remains are structures built with giant stone blocks, statues, paintings on rock of Pokemon that are no more than legend now, weathered and cracked, in need of being assembled, and an unknown language written on the walls. Messages from a long-forgotten clan. The scientists tell us the ruins are 1,500 years old, and that there simply isn't much to know about them, aside from the feeling you get when you're inside. The only other Pokemon that spawns in the ruins of Alph, aside from Unown, is Natu and Smeargle. Xatu's Pokedex entry says he stands still, witnessing the past and present at the same time. You as the player truly are witnessing both the past and present simultaneously as well. It makes perfect sense why they placed Natu here, and nowhere else on the entire map. Smeargle is the painter Pokemon.
The artist, right?
With a paintbrush on its tail, he's the artist, and a metaphor to the ancient paintings that the place that inspired the ruins of Alph is most prolific for. Every single detail in the ruins of Alph has a meaning, even down to the items you can obtain there. Nothing was left a dead end. Old amber can be found by smashing rocks outside of the tombs. Simultaneously, in Asuka, while excavating the tombs, they dug through dirt and rocks, uncovering ancient artifacts, one of them being pieces of amber. On this journey to Asuka, I had dreams of stumbling onto an ancient tomb, falling underneath and entering into ancient ruins, old stone traditions of the past. I had no idea how real this game really was.
What? Yo!
What the fuck?
Well, they found the cave.
Dude!
Is that the Unown theme as well?
It's going. Holy shit, I'm like scared.
But the biggest mystery of the ruins of Alph is, of course, the unknown. Why would Game Freak add 28 variations of a weak Pokemon that hardly anyone ever has in their party or even bothers catching? You can't use this Pokemon in the Elite Four. You'd probably struggle to even beat a gym. This is because there is an entire different point this Pokemon is trying to prove. It's questioning the way you play this game by design. The entire Ruins of Alph is one of the bigger locations in the game. It was a risky move to fill up their game with so many questions. If you encountered this Pokemon as a kid, you probably remember being confused. Even now, people tend to not really get this Pokemon. And if you view this Pokemon through the lens of a made-up world, a fantasy, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
But if you view it through the lens of a grounded world, no different to ours, the meaning and overwhelming importance of this Pokemon becomes clear. There has always been a search for what inspired the design of Unown. Many people think it's hieroglyphs, but with everything we know about Johto, it all comes from Japan's own history. The biggest design inspiration for this Pokemon could likely be from what are known as ancient keyhole-shaped graves, only visible from the sky, built 2,000 years ago in the 3rd century. Hundreds of megalithic tombs resembling keyholes are forever preserved in Japan. They are some of the largest tombs to ever be discovered, and their design is still not fully understood.
Why is this not talked about more? Why am I just learning about the fact there are keyhole-shaped ancient cemetery burial grounds sometimes in the middle of Japanese cities? Why is this not told more? Because the only massive structures that look kind of cool like that I've heard is, those crop circles that come up in farms and they call it from aliens. But apart from that, I don't think this... I mean, keyhole-shaped, massive-sized burial grounds? That is interesting.
And it's hard to deny, they visually resemble Unown.
Yeah.
But after weeks of searching for Unown's real meaning, we have come to an entirely different conclusion of what the point of this Pokemon really was. 5 minutes from the train station, through a neighborhood, lies a hill that overlooks Asuka. Underneath this hill is the secret that inspired this strange Pokemon. A tomb built in the 7th century. You can tell from the outside that this is one of the leading designs of the ruins of Alph. We know this from Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and if you walk inside with your back to the wall and a camera pointed straight forward, you can see the exact frame for the entrance screen to the ruins of Alph. This is the...
That is cool. I've never played Heart Gold or Soul Silver, but that is cool. The fact that they took... There's no way that's a mistake.
With your back to the wall and a camera pointed straight forward, you can see the exact frame for the...
They knew what they were doing. 100%.
Entrance screen to the ruins of Alph.
That is sick.
This is the Iwayama Tumulus. Out of all the tombs, the Iwayama bears the most resemblance to the games. Built with large rectangle stone blocks, you can feel the energy around you as you enter. Something is here. Something here lives on from the past. Marked on these stones is what can only be described as unknown markings. Each block is touched with a character of some sort. When you first see it, it seems random, but it's almost moving. Some people believe it's naturally occurring, but other people believe the markings mean something. Wyatt and I spent hours here in the dark, looking at every single block, attempting to decipher an unsolvable code, as people had probably done here for hundreds of years. When you look closer, you can see characters that stand out and strike a strong shape, and likely were the idea for Unown themselves. Each one different, each one with or without meaning, all bearing energy that gives you that feeling as a human that there really are things in life that are a mystery. The most fascinating part of this place is that it truly is unknown. No one on Earth knows what these mean, or why this place was built. This language, these markings, this place, this art, whatever it is lost so far in the past, so far into obscurity, that its purpose, story, and creator are completely and utterly unknown. A person I met wandering through Asuka, training to become a tour guide, took me here and described these markings as energy markings. And that stood out to me, because what's left with us is the energy. Whatever someone made over 1,000 years ago still radiates a feeling when you are inside. And when you step out and the sun hits your face, it becomes clear why the Pokemon Unown had to exist. The story of this place needs to be told. Art takes from life as it has for so long, that feeling of exploration and wonder, is alive around you just as it was when you were a child playing these games. Chasing that feeling, chasing the mystery. There's a reason why this game resonated with so many people. It's because it's real. When you're a kid and you play this game, it's just a fantasy where you catch monsters. But eventually we all grow up. This game has been around for 20 years. There are real human intentions that brought this into existence. Gold and Silver is profound. The entire story of this game is the reimagining of folk tales and history. Pokemon is presented as a fantasy, but it has always been ancient history. All things that are put into this world come from somewhere. This game was a work of art, and we never noticed. As we marched through the woods, hunting for a tomb in the middle of nowhere, covered in bug bites and thorns, I felt a sense of freedom I hadn't felt since I was a kid. And I had a realization that maybe the people who made this game wanted this. They wanted somebody to find this. They wanted someone to come to these places and feel what they felt here. Why else would someone work so hard to eternalize a place and its feeling? They wanted people to dig up the history and the meaning, and they wanted someone to find all of it was just as they were told as a child. And all of it was as interesting and magical as the fantasy game they love. So the next time you walk through the ruins of Alph, you can breathe a sigh of relief that this mystery will never be solved. Because that is the point. Life itself is a mystery. And you don't have to stare it dead in the face to know that it always has been. It's been right in front of us. It's been there the whole time. Unknown is simply the unknown.
I know for a fact I did not say much at all for this entire reaction because I was impressed by the sheer depth that this man went through in the exploration of the games. But the message, the idea, the concept, it's a masterpiece. This is the idea that they got, it is a fantasy game. It's always presented as a fantasy game, but then looking back after actually traveling to those places and then realizing, wait, they actually tried capturing a lot more about these places than people give it credit for. And the mistake is always that, it's a fantasy game. It's not supposed to be real. And the irony of the game is that it is a game grounded in reality. Sure, you're fighting like mythical monsters, sure. But the concepts, the environment, the people you talk to, the folklore, the tales that it's trying to speak and represent, the legendaries themselves, had meaning. Like actual real life meaning. So the entire last, I do want to just mention this last few sections right here, like from 24, 25 onwards, is probably the most cinematic Pokemon pieces I've ever seen on the internet, like on YouTube, anywhere. Like this video is special, and I do want to specially give a shout out to BlueBoyPhin. Already subscribed. This video is not that old, it's less than 2 months old, but highly recommend watching it. Link is going to be in the description. And I apologize for not actually talking this much in this reaction because I was more impressed for the fact that there's so much that I don't know about this game. And I've never played it, and I'm very much looking forward to playing these games on the console. So, yeah, this is such a weird reaction because there is a lot more philosophy at play here than I actually give it credit for. Because it is, as they say, like grounding the game in reality. And then the concept of unknown in the game, and if you think about it from like an actual like fantasy perspective, doesn't make sense. Or you're fighting monsters, higher level, better move sets, these guys are better. But the actual real life implication that, yeah, they're mysteries, they're called unknown because in reality, we won't know and we might never know. The concept that you're living in the present while also experiencing the past at the same time. When you go to these old places, what often survives more than words, the concepts, the ideas, is the energy that you can feel. Because words and, art, they degrade over time, but not the energy, not the structures themselves. There's a reason why people go and visit Stonehenge. And if you can't see through photos, like there is a primal connection in the sense that, yeah, there used to be people tens of thousands of years ago who erected these things. God knows why. But the idea that some action was taken in the past to build these structures and you don't know why, and oftentimes the legends, the stories, and even the reason as to why they did it is lost to time. The fact that it still remains is it's beautiful in a way because you know that it exists, but it's also sad in a way because you'll never truly know why it was there and why it was ever built in the first place. And I think the beauty here is sometimes you just don't need to know. Like the game you play as a kid, when you grow up, it's that mystery that used to be there, the mystery still exists. And I think as you grow older, you still don't lose a part of that childish curiosity, to explore, to travel to different places. I've always wanted to go to Japan and, I've always wanted to go on a visit. But if I ever do at some point in my life, these are going to be a couple of the places I want to go and visit. As like I will play Heart Gold and Soul Silver before I travel to Japan, 100%. And if I ever do have a chance to get there, this is going to be one of those things I want to check out. So the fact that's crazy to me is like even the five ladies that they like demonstrate in the games themselves, who worship like the legendaries themselves, who are actually like the five ladies who brought in like Buddhism into the country, is wild. And there's a lot more going on in the games than I give it credit for. But at the same time, it's also sad in a way because this isn't a critique of it as much as I think it's personal opinion. The recent Pokemon games don't really put nearly as much effort as the older ones did, especially Heart Gold, Soul Silver. And I think, and I don't know if I'm right for saying this, I think in my perspective, Black and White or Black and White 2 might have been the best games ever made in the Pokemon generations. And this is coming from someone who only, I look at more at the concept of the Pokemon themselves. You can argue Diamond and Pearl, and I'm sorry for going on a Pokemon rant, but Diamond and Pearl had the creation trio like Palkia, Dialga, and Giratina, and of course Arceus. But you also have to like put the fact that Black and White was about truth and ideals. There is no more abstraction as a concept that they've personified in those two games, like Reshiram and Zekrom. That it's like with N, with whole Getsus, with the whole with the whole like villain arc that actually feels dark and villainy. Like those are games I feel like didn't get as much love compared to. I think Black and White were like the lowest selling games, or I think amongst the Pokemon franchise, the lowest number of sold games in like a particular time frame. So they're getting popular now, but what I'm trying to say is those are conceptual games. Like as an idea and as a concept and as the actual game, we're better off compared to like the recent ones they've released now. That is in my opinion. But there is just something, magical about the older games, like by far. And I remember, and I know I'm going on a tangent and a huge rant here. I'm sorry. And I'll be honest, you can skip to the end of the video. I remember when I got my first, and this is like really personal to me because I remember when I got my first console, that was the Game Boy, which took a lot of convincing. And I think the first and only game I had for a long time was Emerald. And this is at a time frame where I wasn't exposed to the internet. I didn't have much books. You had books, but you didn't have as much friends. So I played the living shit out of Emerald, and there is just something special back in those days, man. It's like you go to school, you come back, you have tuitions, you come from a hard day and you get like 30, 45 minutes with that console, bro. It made the day worthwhile. Pokemon for me was, back in that time, like, it really was a thing of mystery because you really couldn't read much about the games anyway. And the only amount of Pokemon facts that I would learn at that time was talking with friends. That's it. There was no internet resources. I mean, most of my friends did have internet. I just wasn't in a situation to have internet at that point in time. I got it about a year or two later. So I was able to experience the game fully, like, as a novice. No clue what's going on. Beat the gyms. Got Rayquaza. Just had a great swell time. And I sit today and I have to come to, like, the unfortunate realization, and I don't know why I'm going on a huge rant on an essay here, that I might not have that much of an enjoyment with a game now ever than I had in the past. Because right now, being exposed to the internet, because being exposed to walkthroughs, I think people have optimized the fun out of games. I'll be honest. It's just that, you play any kind of game and people would have optimized the solution, told you that's the effective, objective, best way to play the game, come to your conclusion, and then that's it. You don't have to try anything else. That's it. And I think there are certain mysteries of the game that you can experience when you play it without, going into it knowing nothing about the game. And then coming out of it, I won't say worse off or better off, but coming out of it with an experience that you could have only experienced in a gaming format. Like, video games have this very interesting, place in, I think, all the visual and, like, auditory medias, where it is a visual audio media, but it is the only visual audio media that uses player interface. Like, it interfaces with the player to get, their input. Like movies, you don't really control what's going on, and so it's up to the director to make it as as accessible as possible to as a wide array of people. Same thing with songs. You hear it from the band or like the singer's perspective, but games are very different. They're seriously about basically what does the player want to do and what is the game's response to that player interaction. There's a reason why I think, and I'm deviating here, this is a long tangent, why I think Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom were like probably Nintendo's like most successful games. I would argue most successful games ever, I think, simply because the beauty of those games, apart from like Tears of the Kingdom did as well, is the physics engine they built into it and the weird things you could do. The game doesn't punish you for solving the game in a way that other people would not have. And I look at Pokemon the same way as like there is infinite number of ways you can combine Pokemon abilities, actions. You can breed Pokemon, get the right IVs and EVs. You can do a lot of things with Pokemon. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you want to fight with the team that you like the most, and you don't really care if it's objectively the strongest or the weakest. You care about. I think most people care about the Pokemon they care over form or function. They care about enjoying the game. And as far as that is the case, knowing that games like these have like massive past references, like huge like historical references in the game, makes it even better. Because when you actually do grow up, you research a bit into the games and be like, oh shit, this is actually based on real places. And okay, so this is from this part, this is from this part. And the idea in digital media, like visual media like this, is if stored properly, this is like a digital, I won't say reincarnation of the place. I think it's more like a digital preservation of this so that even 50, 100, 200 years from now, if media, obviously if we live for, if humanity exists for 200 years, I think we will, they're going to be like perfect representations of places. So like if you play Heart Gold and Soul Silver and people like understand, wait, what were these places? Oh, the tower that actually was a real thing. And you actually go on a diving tangent of these games become more eternal the more grounded it is in reality. And I think that is the beauty of Unown as a Pokemon here, simply because the idea that it was a mystery even now, and let's say in the future if it ever is solved, would be incredibly satisfying when you play the game in the future saying, well, we know the answer now, but maybe 50 or 100 years ago, no one knew. And I think in a weird way, it's preservation of the concept of a fantasy that's grounded in reality. And I think there's nothing like it. There is nothing like Pokemon. And people can say, oh, what about Digimon or Yu-Gi-Oh? And I'm like, well, yes, but you aren't going to get stories like this coming out of that. I'm sorry for offending those fans. I'm sorry, but Pokemon just has pull, bro. It just has that, the history riz. You feel me? Like, it's is that what people say nowadays? Okay, but I digress. I feel like I'm going too off topic here, but genuinely putting it, I have never given up on Pokemon. I think one of the recent Pokemon games I enjoyed the most is Pokemon Y, I think. And I also tried Omega Ruby. I think I have the console here. I am actually playing Omega Ruby as we speak, so fair enough. Like, these are games that I feel like, I buy a copy of the game and just keep it around, and you never know, like 20, 25 years down the line, if I want to enjoy the games again, you can. I still have Emerald. I'm sorry if I actually have to go up and actually get this from here. Hold on. So I think that from here is reduce it. I still have. I feel like this is more of this. I feel like this is more of talk to your creator kind of situation. I still have the original Pokemon Emerald, and this, by far, is a game that I can go back and head back to and still have an incredible amount of fun with. There is just something about it, man. I just don't know. I feel like Pokemon, I think, was my first game. I don't think I've played, apart from chess, but I think Pokemon was my first, actual game, and I don't think I'm ever going to outgrow it, for sure. I think this is one of those games that's just going to be like, you know what? Years from now, I could be 30, 40, 50. I'll still come back to this. And who knows, I might have to take it apart, replace the battery, and do things about it like that. But I actually think preserving this kind of media is, something special. It's a piece of my heart. It's a piece of my soul. It's a piece of, it is a small fraction that made me who I am today. So I can't even be mad at it. So yes, when I talk about Pokemon, I'm sorry for being overtly passionate, but this hits a little too close to home. And I feel like this documentary is something special. You guys should really check it out. I'll drop it in the comments. I might even put it as a pinned comment as well. Check it out, because it's one of those few documentaries that makes me, really happy that people still look back to the older games and give it the respect. The respect is due, because these games were generationally impactful. I don't think, and I could be taken out of context for this, I don't think there's many generationally impactful games as much as Pokemon has given to the world. That's just my opinion. I feel like I'm rambling on for more than 20 minutes. I know for a fact most of you have already clicked out, but I feel like this was personal. I feel like this is something I wanted to really talk about. But hey, I think that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you guys want me to watch. Drop it in the comments. I will put it in the Excel file of reactions. This is one of the videos, and yeah. That was a long fucking video, but catch you beautiful bastards in the next one. Peace. Take care. Nice.